Okay, here I am, a little bit tilted at an angle looking at Oz. That is, sorry, that was almost Oz. It's Australia, it's Sydney. And I'm in X-Plane's broken circle view. My name's Steve, and I'm here to demonstrate a new plugin I've come up with called ABC that helps fix this problem in particular. It's called a better circle. And instead of you spinning around and having a hard time getting your head straight because of a bug in X-Plane, which to be fair to X-Plane and Laminar, they are going to fix eventually. This bug was introduced in Circle View back when VR was launched sometime in the last 6 months, 3 months, and in the last 4 or so dot releases, they have not yet been able to fix this. I might be counting a beta or two in there, sorry. I'm sure they will fix it. They've admitted or agreed that it is a bug. I think someone else has filed it. Actually, I filed it, but then it turned out someone else had. And, well, anyway, I'm sorry I'm jittering here, frustratingly showing you that, when instead I'm going to show you ABC. So here, by contrast, is a better circle. And by the way, the animation can be disabled. You don't need to let it do that if you don't want to. So here's ABC, and I'm in my random plane that I've got, and yeah, it's the MD82, and you'll notice right away that there's no problem with head roll. It doesn't suddenly turn you sideways. So that's kind of like the key selling point for this plugin. And otherwise, I basically have re-implemented, reverse engineered pretty much everything from the X-Plane version of Circle View. So you have about the same touch, almost, not quite. It's hard to match perfectly a lot of their scaling. But for example, things get slower when you zoom in. You can zoom in with the mouse, just like in X-Plane's built-in one. You can move around with the right drag. Everything works pretty much just like in X-Plane. I'll bring up the settings panel here. I don't really have settings yet, but there's one setting. There's a lot of settings, but I'll show you those in the data refs instead in a minute. But basically, X-Plane style of traction basically sets a couple of the key bindings as well as the speed of the zoom and some other stuff to more closely match X-Plane. And it also kind of like the traction term refers to how the camera continues to move just a little bit after you let go of the controls. Mine does too. This is the X-Plane version. In other words, I've tried to emulate their traction look and feel. But anyway, so that's basically the gist of the basics of the plugin. You don't need to do anything to get it working. All you need to do, and there's obviously the plugin menu up here, is toggle control on. And now you're letting ABC run your external camera. It doesn't do internal. So like if I hit my shortcut to go inside the cockpit, doesn't interfere at all. And if I hit the button that I've bound, which I'll show you in a minute, to enable the plugin to take control, all it does is, just like if I hit Shift 4, that takes me to Circle View, the one with the fun head roll problem. But if you hit ABC button, basically, you're now in ABC Circle View. You'll notice actually that it's not exactly the same because it didn't start, it took me back to where I was. It didn't start me off in the bad spot, or in the initial spot, I mean, sorry. So there's actually two different commands. The one I was just doing, this one is toggle on off. So this is just toggling ABC mode on and off. And it doesn't change anything in ABC, so it doesn't force a reset of the camera. So if I go inside the plane and then I hit ABC toggle, you go right back where you were. But there is another command which is the exact equivalent of circle in X-Plane, and that is I have Alt and the same button, which I use the numpad dot to be the enable disable. So similarly, Alt numpad dot is start a new fresh view right at the side of the plane. So whenever you hit that, you go straight to the side of the plane. So I could be in Circle View in X-Plane and hit my Alt dot and I go straight to the side of the plane to start a fresh camera. Or I could not do that and I could go to Circle View in X-Plane, get turned sideways and then just toggle and end up back where I left the camera last. Either one of those works. Another thing really quick is that I do have 2 modes. So if you look at the bottom, it says ABC circle. There's actually, you can have a key binding to switch to ABC free camera. Now you might wonder, so this works just almost, is actually not quite the same as X-Plane's free camera. It's close, but they've got a couple interesting things I haven't solved to emulate yet, but it's close. It's very close. So you can move around in the free camera, or you can always hit C and go to X-Plane's free camera, which always resets zoom, unfortunately. Either one works, and they're compatible, so you can move back and forth between them. So here I just went back into free camera in X-Plane, or sorry, in ABC. So that works really nicely, and you can go back and forth as much as you like. If you turn off, it actually defaults to going into free mode. So here I am, plugging on, plugging off, and I just continue right along. And if this thing annoys you at the bottom, it actually goes away after a few seconds when it's not enabled there. But when ABC is enabled, it stays there, as does the frame. And I mentioned you can use the right click or the right drag to move the mouse or move the camera, or you can zoom in and out. You can also put your cursor on the left or right edge and just zoom out to shrink that frame if you hate it. So if you can't stand the frame, you can get rid of it. You can make it bigger too. And that to me is a nice thing because it doesn't actually get in the way at all. It's very subtle. Later I'll make it so you can actually change how it looks too, like what color or whatever. But right now it's just using the normal X-Plane, background box. So that basically, you can turn it on and off, and you can tell whether you're in ABC mode or not, which I think is a really, useful thing to do, right? Anyway, so now, I'm going to get into I'm going to turn the lights back up just a little bit. Okay, here's some cool features now that make it, for example, here, I'll tell you, let's go back to my free camera. The reason why ABC's free camera is potentially better than X-Plane's is I have instant action keys. So for example, this isn't as impressive, but I can jump forward like 100 feet or whatever it is, and it scales with how high you are in this case. So if I'm way up high, it'll jump further. Jump forward, jump backward, jump left, jump right. I can also swing the camera 30 or 60, I think it's 60 degrees. No, 30 degrees, yeah. Well, whatever, you can play with it. You can actually change it, so either direction. So I'm using the Alt key as my modifier, so if you hit Alt Q or Alt E, you swing the camera fast. It's just a little bit faster than sitting there manually holding it down. And so if you just want to look behind you, it's 3 clicks, 1, 2, 3, and you're behind you, in front of you, behind you, in front of you. That's just really fast compared to if you had to do that same thing in X-Plane. You get really used to it too. Then there's I have Alt up and down, so up, 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 down, down, down. And you notice the up one and down one scale, so it actually goes faster as you go up. So that way you can get up high really fast, really easy, etc. Similarly with things like zooming in and out, you can hold down. I use Alt plus and minus, so let's go to where the city's in the view. Alt plus, get it a little more centered. Alt plus, Alt plus. So it's a little more than just holding down the zoom key. The zoom key is fast by itself. Here's the normal zoom, and then here's the shift zoom. So it's not that impressive, but it's a little feature. But then there's also max zoom. That one didn't work well because of the horizon. There we go. And max unzoom just quickly brings you out to no zoom. And then finally, there's another one. I forgot what it is. I'll show you in a minute because I'm going to switch now to circle view where some of these are much more impressive. Okay, so let's go to circle view. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. There we go, circle view. So now I'm backtracking the user aircraft, and I'm actually going to show you that feature next. So you notice that the user aircraft is, the aircraft that you normally start with in X-Plane, but X-Plane has the ability to have up to 19 other aircraft, whether they be multiplayer, other people that or whatever, or they could be AI aircraft or some combination. World Traffic, for example, can use those 19 to put the stick plane, and then it'll generate all of its own planes from the Bluebell inventory if you've installed it. And there's just a ton of stuff you can do with those planes, and there's one there. So one of the things you can do with this is you can actually switch planes. So now you can do this in X-Planes circle view, but there's no good interface for it. So here I just want to go to, let's say, plane number 2 and see where that is. And notice the animation actually helps you find where that is. Watch. We'll go to another one. Let's go to aircraft 3. It's over there. It's a little, that one was a little disorienting, but it doesn't matter because the other alternative is it's just going to pop to it. Let's go to airplane 11. Okay, so that's waiting in line to take off. So actually you can have a hotkey. This is it. It goes next plane, next plane, next plane, previous plane, previous plane, previous plane. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, you notice we're on number 10 right now. That was nice. Now we're on number 11, number 12. Again, you can turn the animation off. Number 13, 14, 15. That was cool. 16, 17, 18. That's really nice. 19, 20. And as you can tell by the way it's animating, it's actually variable. What happens is, depending on how far away the plane is or how many moves it would take to get to it, it does another round of detail as it gets closer so that you can actually see it zoom in, because otherwise it would just appear again right in the plane. You wouldn't notice that it was, okay, that one's about to take off, so let's watch that. So now we're in our circle view, so we can circle around the plane. But we can also quick circle, just using the same 30 degree or whatever it was, right? So I can go to the other side with 3 quick clicks, 1, 2, 3, right? Or just be looking at it as from the front. I can do the same with up and down. So there's up, 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 down, 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 left, 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 down, down. And it's actually, because of the little animation, it's actually easier to tell. I had that, if you have that turned off, you can get disoriented more quickly. When I do it, of course, it might be dizzying for the observer, but when you're doing it, you'll know you're hitting it and it'll seem less jerky. So that is basically one of the value adds, I think, of ABC. One of them is that there are these quick keys that can not only take you from plane to plane, which is already a pretty cool feature, but they I forgot to turn off something. So I'm not using world traffic, but I have it installed, and right now I'm not detecting the difference between the two. So when world traffic is installed, I actually have a little hack that accounts for world traffic's stick plane. So there we go. Now we're centered really on the plane. So that was just it's a feature. So if you're using world traffic, one thing you'll notice is the planes in world traffic jump back and forth a lot. The ones that are AI planes, because of the stick plane and something, there's probably a bug. But it's not that bad, and it's pretty nice to be able to go back and forth between world traffic planes. I even have a one-click way to go from looking at a world traffic plane that's an AI plane to jump to the world traffic viewer for that plane, the track cam in world traffic. And I almost have a way to jump back, but it doesn't. I need an API from them to be able to do that. So here we are now. I'm going to jump to the next closest plane. That's the next feature I want to demonstrate. So I have another key binding that says, and this one it's not going to jump, it's only going to aim at the next closest one. So there's the next closest one. Now I can jump to it, and then I can aim back to another plane, probably the one I just left, and go back to it. So there's 2 separate actions. There's aim at the next aircraft, the closest aircraft, and pull myself in. When I'm aimed at it, I'm actually what I call tethered to it. So I'm actually changing what thing I'm circling. So right now I'm circling this plane. If I aim at another plane, I call it lasso, actually, to lasso that plane. So there I've lassoed the nearest plane. Now, if you notice, if I hit my left and right arrows, I'm circling that plane. And of course, I'm so far away, I'm just manually going to it. But I could, if I was back where I was, I could hit this button and auto navigate straight to its default view, basically. And if you have animation turned off, it just takes you to the default view for that plane, which is another feature. So basically, if you're in, let's say I'm in just in X-Plane's free camera mode, and I see a plane go by, and I'm like, hey, I want to tether myself to that plane in circle mode. Then you just use my hotkey, which is yet another one called, tether to the nearby. Well, it's actually the same as that last one. Yeah, tether to nearby plane. Ready? I'm gonna hit it now. So it got a different plane because I'm closer now to the one that just took off. So let's go down and look at that plane we just tethered to. You see there's a lot of possibilities now that you have the ability to sort of lasso and grab onto any plane you see that's nearby. It has to be one of the 19 or 20 AI planes or user planes. But, you can just find yourself, if you paused everything, and I could even go into the world traffic viewer and do the same thing. But if you pause yourself, and let's say I go into like free camera mode, and oh, that's really far away, so maybe that I'm going to go into X-Plane or into my free camera mode, which picks up where you left off just the one time. Okay, so now I'm going to go, let's see, jump forward. I don't have that's the difference. I don't jump at an angle. Everything's just X and Y. Okay, I'm close enough to it, I think, now. See, there it is. Now I'm going to lasso. Wait, you can't see it. Okay, there it is. I'm going to try to lasso that plane. Okay, whoops, I jumped, but anyway. Okay, it's nearby. Ready? I'm going to lasso. Boom, I lassoed to it. Yeah, I had jumped over it. So now if I unpause or whatever, I've now just grabbed that plane out of thin air, literally. And, all the keys work. I can spin around it, spin under it, above it. I can fast zoom into it. And I can go straight to it. There's also another feature called zoom effect, where if you're looking at something, you just hit a button, and what it does is combines zooming in with moving back. So I've actually moved really far away from the plane, and now I'm moving closer to the plane and zooming out. You've probably done this yourself just by holding down both keys at the same time in X-Plane, and they still work in this. So here I am doing it in continuous. But, it's hard to time it to be just what you want, so this keeps it all straight for you. Keeps them all even. And you can hold it down. In fact, any of those keys, you can hold any of these keys I've defined, any of these commands, you can hold them all down, and they'll repeat automatically. But they're slow repeat versus the normal sort of continuous, like the one I'm doing right now, which is just continuous. By the way, I don't actually know right now how big these planes are. I could find out, but so that's why I'm a little tight on this one, but that's okay. You can always back up. And I do support, multiple sizes of monitors and, that kind of thing. So you shouldn't have any trouble using this on any, field of view, as long as it's reasonable. I actually have presets for different fields of view, and I'll allow user presets eventually for like where to go. So like when let's say I reset to my home view, to my home plane, which is a key important feature. Somehow my colors have gotten all messed up. There we go. This is the view I start with. So when you reset the home view, that's what you get. And when you go to an AI plane, this is the view you always start with, right here. But you can change these in data refs today, and later I'll have a way in a file or maybe some other way, maybe an interface, that you can set all those types of parameters. In fact, that's probably the last thing I want to show is that I have a full API. So if you just go and bring up data ref tool, when I say API, I just mean data refs. That way you can write scripts to do anything with it. So, because that's one thing I found sorely lacking in X-Plane's camera. There's internal camera, there's data refs to control it. So you can actually, from a plugin, you can turn the internal camera inside the cockpit, stuff like that. But outside the cockpit, you're pretty much SOL. So this enables you, if the user is using ABC, this enables you to have ABC control the camera for them. So I can even force ABC to go active if I wanted to, but of course I wouldn't if it's installed. So settings, so here you have API. If you just type ABC/API, there's a whole bunch of stuff for the animation and the radar. So there's two different features that are sort of filling up all the slots here, but the radar is basically, this is kind of cool. This is the camera's distance to all of the targets, all 20 targets. Although right now it's only showing 19. Oh no, it is showing 20. Number 20 is this one, so I'm 0 from it. Oh, yeah, okay, well, whatever. This is actually showing, no, it is showing the camera's distance. It's just ignoring the plane that I'm currently tethered to, that's all. So if I go to the next plane, you can see now that it is 43,000 clicks from that plane that I was just on. And the closest one to it, you can see, is probably number 15. So if I do the tethered closest plane, there you go, number 16. They're off by 1 in the index. That's just the way it works. But this is plane number 16, which in the API is going to be number 15. I don't want to go too deep on that, but the other things that are really important are these parameters like phi and pitch. You can actually change, let's say, pitch. I can make pitch, -5, and the camera will move. It doesn't animate the camera, but it, and there's actually animation support here too. So where did I put that? Oh, I haven't put it in here yet, but yeah, you can go to ABC/anim, and these are the animation data. There's only a few things you're allowed to touch, but I'll publish all this information. But basically, you can have it animate anything you want as far as moving the camera from point A to point B. And then in the main API, you can just splat the camera to any theta. Theta is the angle around the plane. So let's say I make it -50. It just turns the camera. It doesn't aim the camera, but it rotated me, but it kept the camera forward like this. It did this, basically. So you would have to also turn yaw, which is this thing, to be like this number -90, effectively, to make it aim at the plane. Oh, that's another feature, aim at. So let me close this because you get it. The last features I want to just quickly demonstrate are aim at. So basically, let's say that's my plane in the middle, right? I can just aim at my plane without moving the camera. Also, you'll notice that you're driving along the ground here. This is the X-plane feature that I basically support. In this case, to go up from here, I have to go all the way back. You've probably dealt with this if you use circle a lot. And then wait till you get to the very edge, and then finally blast up. So I have a feature that lets you just jump from there straight to going up, you see? And that's basically the tether command, but it's tethered to the same plane, not tethered to the next plane, okay? So those are the two tether type commands. There's also, just go to the next numerically indexed plane, but then there's tether to the closest plane or tether to my plane from wherever you are, from whatever mode you're in. So I could be over here in X-plane's free camera mode, and I can retether to my plane that I was just tethered to from here, which is something I've always wanted to be able to do. So basically I re-enter circle mode, but from here. Watch, ready? Boom. I've just tethered, and now I can aim the camera at my plane. I can pull myself in and rotate around. And I've just gone, this is like, to me, an awesome feature. I've just gone from being somewhere random to being tethered to my plane in circle mode. So if you can imagine if you were like taking lots of glam shots, which I like to do, you're like, oh, I want to try to get the Eiffel Tower and my plane in the same shot. And you end up having to leave circle mode because it's just too frustrating to you're trying to move right, but it moves left in circle mode. So let's say I go ahead and just use X-Plane's free camera mode, and I put the camera right where I want it. I take my screenshot. Then I can just retether and carry on where I was without having to, go back to where the plane is. Because it's actually much faster normally to move around in circle mode. This is a huge swing right here to go around the plane. And aim back to find the plane, and, jump back to the plane wherever you are. Those are just fucking awesome features. Whoops, I hit a button I shouldn't have, sorry. So, how do I do all this, or how do you get to do all this? Well, you just install the plugin. It's really a very, very simple installation. There's nothing to do. There are no features. There's no persistent settings right now. Nothing gets saved, so it's a beta. But basically, you just type ABC into your keyboard or joystick when you're looking up a command, and you'll find all of my commands kind of in order. So the first most important one is the control mode. Then there's start circle fresh. Then there's move to free camera mode. Then there's the aim at the current aircraft. Auto circle is another word for that auto tethering that I talked about. So this is to my current plane. And then lasso is what I use to refer to finding the nearest plane. And then track the next aircraft is the thing I showed early on. Track the main aircraft forces it to reset back to my aircraft. This is a really important one because you sometimes get lost, and that's one thing I wanted to show. So you'll notice I'm tracking this aircraft, which isn't mine. This is an AI aircraft. If I switch to circle view in X-plane, now I'm not in ABC anymore. I sync the two targets. So X-plane believes this is the target as well, and it's circling it. That's kind of a really cool feature, I think, because X-plane has some good things it can do, like it has tower view, which I will add to ABC pretty much in the very next couple dot releases. So this tower view is not mine, it's X-plane's tower view, because it knows the target. These are the 19 to 20 planes that it supports, so it knows it. Or shift 3 to go runway view. Oh, it picked the wrong runway. Or you can go back to ABC and, have fun with it. So I think that's pretty much all I really wanted to demonstrate. Oh, one thing to know though, sorry, about that. Yeah, this is important. Is because I'm doing that, if you hit Shift 9, which is cockpit view, or you hit your presets to go into the cockpit, your quick view keys, whatever they're called, quick look. Anyway, if you hit those keys, those are all my presets for this plane that I've got on the floor on the ground. But this isn't my plane, and X-plane does this. So you might be miffed if you're currently like in ABC looking at a plane that's not your plane, and then you hit your preset. Well, nothing I can do, but I have, and it'll work from if you're here and you realize you've done that, you just hit my reset to main target thing, and then you're back, and I sync that to X-plane, so now you're back, right? Hope that made sense. So anyway, you'll see them all in the list. They're all pretty self-explanatory. There are lots of commands. Oh, the other quick thing is just to show that there's two sections. So there's all of the ABC commands that affect the camera, or the main one up top. And then there's a few meta commands that do interesting things. So this is not so interesting, but bring up the settings screen, which doesn't do very much. This is the reset view. So this actually, I don't know if it should be above. It should be above, I guess. But this basically is what I was showing when I pulled myself into the planes. Yeah, this should really be above. So basically this takes you to the plane wherever you are. Restore view is an undo of that. And then track in WT3 is what I talked about when you're using world traffic to control AI planes. These two aren't available yet, so there's not that much there. But anyway, so yeah, hope everyone enjoys it. Please do give feedback on the posting that I'm about to make with this beta. This is a beta. It's beta 2. I didn't launch beta 1. I thought of all these great ideas for new features. And so here it's 1.0 beta 2, build 139, July 23rd, 2018. So if you can play with it, let me know what you think. Don't ask me to move this, because I will eventually make that movable. And you don't need to complain about the frame, because you can make it go away. Although it's not persistent setting. You can script that, by the way. It's in the API. So you can script that with a Lua script if you really want. And otherwise, I look forward to seeing what people think. I feel like this is going to open up a lot of possibilities for people like me who like to go outside the plane every once in a while, but also want to be able to quickly go back inside the plane and get stuff done, take care of business. All right, thanks very much for watching, and I hope everyone enjoys it.